Your bug-out bag is going to kill you, not the collapse, not the disaster, not the raiders or the radiation. Your own carefully packed, lovingly assembled, tactically configured backpack is the thing that's going to turn you into fertilizer within the first 72 hours. And the beautiful irony? You did it to yourself. Let me guess. Right now, sitting in your closet or garage. There's a rucksack that weighs somewhere between 45 and 60 pounds, maybe more. You've got your tactical gear, your backup tactical gear, your backup for your backup, 3 weeks of freeze-dried gourmet meals, because God forbid you eat something that doesn't taste like a restaurant, enough ammunition to invade a small country, a full medical kit that would make an emergency room jealous, and probably a cast iron skillet because you saw some bearded guy on YouTube say it was essential. You think you're prepared. You think you're ready. You think you've thought of everything. Wrong. Dead wrong. Literally. Here's what actually happens when civilization takes its final bow and you need to move. You hoist that monster onto your back, feel the straps dig into your shoulders, and you start walking. Maybe you make it 2 miles, maybe 5 if you're in decent shape. By mile 3, your lower back is screaming. By mile 5, you're stopping every 20 minutes. By mile 8, you're reconsidering everything. By mile 10, you're dumping gear on the side of the road like a tactical yard sale, wondering why you ever thought you needed a tactical tomahawk and 4 different kinds of fire starters. And somewhere around mile 12, when your knees feel like broken glass and your shoulders have gone numb, you realize the awful truth. You're not gonna make it. Not because you're weak, not because you're unprepared, because physics doesn't care about your preparedness level, and biology doesn't negotiate with tactical bros. The military figured this out decades ago, which is why they spend millions studying load carriage injuries. Want to know what they found? Carrying weight on your back does 3 catastrophic things to your body. First, it increases forward lean, putting massive stress on your lumbar spine and turning your lower back into a ticking time bomb. Second, it elevates ground reaction forces with every single step, systematically destroying your ankles, knees, and hips through repetitive microtrauma. Third, it increases your energy expenditure exponentially, not linearly. That last one is the killer nobody talks about. You think adding 20 pounds to your pack just means you burn 20 pounds worth of extra calories? That's not how human biomechanics works. Every kilogram you add to your feet increases energy expenditure by 7%. 7% per kilogram on your feet. But even carried on your back, heavy loads don't just add to the work, they multiply it. Walking with a 45-pound pack doesn't require 45 pounds of extra effort. It requires exponentially more because your body has to stabilize that shifting mass, compensate for altered center of gravity, and work against the forward lean every single step. Military studies show that ruck marches with loads over 35 pounds cause measurable increases in peak impact force and loading rate. Translation? Every step you take is hammering your skeleton like you're trying to break it, and you are breaking it, slowly, invisibly, until suddenly you're dealing with bone stress injuries, ankle weakness, and the kind of chronic pain that turns you from a survivor into a liability. The research is brutally clear. Soldiers carrying 33 kilograms, that's about 73 pounds, show significant decreases in stride length, increases in postural sway, and reductions in dynamic stability. They're literally becoming less capable of walking safely with every mile. And these are soldiers, people who train for this. People whose job is carrying heavy things long distances. What makes you think you're going to do better? But here's where it gets darkly funny. The prepper community, the tactical forums, the survival gurus, they all know this. They've read the studies, they've seen the data, and they still tell you to pack 50 pounds of gear because what if you need it? What if there's a scenario where you need that extra tarp, and the backup water filter, and the third knife, and the emergency radio, and all 7 of those paracord bracelets? I'll tell you what happens. You die tired. While the person who packed smart, who understood that survival is about movement and adaptation rather than carrying a REI store on their back, they're already 20 miles ahead of you. setting up camp, purifying water, and not crying about their destroyed spine. The science of energy expenditure during walking is devastatingly simple. An average person walking at a moderate pace burns roughly 3.5 to 4 calories per minute. Add a backpack, and that number climbs. Add a heavy backpack, and it doesn't just climb, it skyrockets. Walking 1 mile with no load might cost you 80 to 100 calories. Walking that same mile with a 60-pound pack? Try doubling or even tripling that number, depending on terrain. Now multiply that across 15 or 20 miles per day, which is what you need to cover to get anywhere meaningful in a collapse scenario. You're burning 3,000, 4,000, maybe 5,000 calories per day just to move. And here's the problem, you didn't pack 5,000 calories per day. You packed 2,000 because that's what normal people eat. You're running a caloric deficit from day one. Within 72 hours, you're not just tired, you're depleted. Your body is cannibalizing muscle. Your decision-making is impaired. Your immune system is compromised. And all of that assumes you don't injure yourself, which, given the biomechanical nightmare of heavy load carriage, is a generous assumption. Let's talk about what the real world looks like when you're trying to bug out. You're not walking on a flat treadmill in a climate-controlled gym. You're moving through varied terrain, maybe urban rubble, maybe forest, maybe roads choked with abandoned vehicles. The ground is uneven. You're stepping over obstacles. You're climbing. You're descending. You're doing all of this while exhausted, stressed, probably scared. And definitely not thinking clearly. Every single one of these factors multiplies the injury risk from carrying too much weight. Twisted ankles, knee problems, hip pain, lower back strain. And once you're injured, you're not just slowed down, you're potentially immobilized. In a survival scenario, immobility equals death. It's that simple. You become a stationary target, a burden to anyone traveling with you, a magnet for problems you can't outrun or fight effectively because you're already compromised. Now, some of you tactical types are thinking, yeah, but I've been training, I go to the gym, I can handle heavy loads. Let me introduce you to a concept the military discovered through painful experience: training specificity. You can bench press 300 pounds and still fail a 12-mile ruck march because the movements are fundamentally different. You can run marathons and still get destroyed by load carriage because running and walking with weight are biomechanically distinct activities. The military, with all their resources and training programs, recommends allowing 2 to 6 months of progressive training to adapt to ruck marching. 2 to 6 months. And they start people with light loads, 10 to 20 pounds, gradually building to 40, then 60. They do this because they know that loading the human body with heavy weight before it's adapted is a recipe for injury. But you, sitting at home with your shiny new bug-out bag stuffed to bursting, you think you're just gonna throw it on and walk 20 miles when the grid goes down? That's not confidence. That's fantasy. That's the survival equivalent of thinking you can run a marathon because you walk to your mailbox. The prepper forums love to talk about bug-out bags like they're a status symbol. Whose is heavier? Whose has more gear? Whose is more tactical? It's ego dressed up as preparedness. It's people mistaking quantity for quality, weight for value, and complexity for capability. The dirty secret nobody wants to admit is that most bug-out scenarios don't require a 70-pound pack. They require movement, speed, adaptability, the ability to cover ground quickly, stay light on your feet, and make decisions without being physically compromised. A 20-pound pack allows that. A 60-pound pack prevents it. It's physics, it's biology, it's reality. And reality doesn't care about your feelings or your YouTube-influenced gear list. Here's what the science actually recommends. For sustained walking over multiple days, your pack should weigh no more than 20% of your body weight if you're in excellent shape. Most sources say 10 to 15% for average fitness. Let's do the math. If you weigh 160 pounds, that's 16 to 32 pounds total. That includes water, food, everything. Most bug-out bags I see weigh 45 to 60 pounds empty before you add consumables. You're already over the limit before you've packed a single meal or liter of water. Water alone weighs about 2 pounds per liter. You need at least 2 liters, probably more. That's 4 pounds. 3 days of food at 2 pounds per day, another 6 pounds. We're at 10 pounds of consumables before we've even discussed shelter, first aid, fire starting, water purification, or any other gear. You have 6 to 22 pounds left, depending on your fitness level. That's it. That's your entire gear budget. And you thought you were bringing that tactical tomahawk? The psychology of this is fascinating in a dark way. People pack heavy because heavy feels safe. More gear equals more options, equals more security. It's the same reason people buy oversized vehicles they'll never fully utilize, or stockpile food they'll never eat. The illusion of control, the comfort of excess. But in a survival scenario, excess isn't comfort, it's dead weight, literally. Every ounce you carry is an ounce that slows you down, tires you out, and increases your injury risk. The minimalist backpacker who's been hiking the Appalachian Trail with a 15-pound pack understands something the tactical prepper with a 60-pound ruck doesn't. Less is more. Not because minimalism is trendy or cool, but because physics and biology demand it. The ultralight backpacking community figured this out years ago. They weigh everything. They cut the tags off their clothes. They saw the handles off their toothbrushes. Not because they're obsessive, but because they understand that ounces become pounds and pounds become pain. They've done the long-distance trails. They've learned through direct experience what the tactical community refuses to accept. Heavy packs destroy you. Let's talk about what actually needs to be in a bug-out bag designed for the first 72 hours. Not 3 weeks, not a month, 72 hours. That's the critical window. The first 3 days after a collapse or disaster. If you can't get somewhere safe, somewhere you can resupply, somewhere you can establish a base within 3 days, you've got bigger problems than what's in your pack. So what do you actually need? Shelter, but not a 4-pound tent. A lightweight tarp or emergency bivvy that weighs under a pound. Knowledge of how to build natural shelters is worth 10 pounds of camping gear. Water purification. A Sawyer mini filter weighs 2 ounces, and it can filter 100,000 gallons. You don't need a 3-pound water purification system with UV sterilization and a solar charger. Fire starting, a lighter, a ferro rod, and waterproof matches. Combined weight, maybe 3 ounces. You don't need a magnesium bar and a tactical fire steel, and a backup lighter, and a fire piston. That's redundancy for its own sake. First aid. A compact kit focused on trauma, bleeding control, and basic wound care. Not a full surgical suite. You're not performing appendectomies in the woods. Food. High-calorie, lightweight options. Nuts, jerky, energy bars. Freeze-dried meals if you must, but the lightest options. 3 days of food should weigh under 6 pounds. Navigation. A map and compass, combined weight, a few ounces. You don't need a GPS with backup batteries, and a solar charger, and a tactical watch with 17 navigation modes. Defense. Whatever you're comfortable with, but understand that ammunition is heavy. 1 round of 5.56 weighs about 12 grams. 100 rounds? Nearly 3 pounds. 300 rounds? 9 pounds. How much ammo do you realistically think you're going to need in the first 72 hours? If you're in that much sustained combat, your bug out has already failed. Clothing, 1 spare set, layered for the climate. Maybe 4 pounds total. Multi-use items, bandana, paracord, duct tape. Things that can serve 10 different functions. Weight them individually and ruthlessly cut anything that doesn't pull double or triple duty. Add all of that up. If you're smart, disciplined, and honest about what you actually need versus what you want, you can build a functional 72-hour bug-out bag that weighs 15 to 20 pounds with consumables. That's it. That's the magic number. 15 to 20 pounds. At that weight, you can move fast. You can cover 15 to 20 miles per day without destroying your body. You can adapt to changing circumstances because you're not locked into a single gear-heavy strategy. You can climb, run, hide, or fight because you're not wearing a small apartment on your back. This is the bag that actually saves your life because it doesn't kill you first. But I know what some of you are thinking. What if I need more? What if 72 hours isn't enough? What if I encounter a scenario where I wish I had that extra tarp or that backup filter or that fourth knife? Here's the brutal truth. If you're in a scenario where you need more than what a 15-pound bag provides after 72 hours, you should have planned better. Survival isn't about carrying everything you might possibly need. It's about being where you need to be, with the people you need to be with, equipped with the knowledge and minimal gear required to sustain yourself until you can resupply. If your bug-out plan requires you to walk for 2 weeks with a 60-pound pack, your bug-out plan is bad. Fix the plan. Don't add more gear. Cache supplies along your route. Establish multiple bug-out locations at different distances. Build networks with people who can support you. Learn skills that reduce gear dependence. These are force multipliers. Packing heavier is just multiplication by 0. The research on military load carriage injuries is extensive and consistent. Rucksack marches cause foot blisters, stress fractures, back strains, metatarsalgia, rucksack palsy, and knee pain. These aren't minor inconveniences. Rucksack palsy is a nerve injury that causes numbness, paralysis, and pain in your shoulder, arm, and hand. Stress fractures can take months to heal and require complete rest. Back strains can be debilitating. All of these injuries are directly correlated with load weight and distance. The heavier your pack and the farther you walk, the higher your injury risk. And unlike the military, you don't have medics, evacuation helicopters, or field hospitals. You have whatever first aid kit you packed, which, if you're carrying 60 pounds of gear, probably weighs 5 pounds and contains things you don't know how to use. When you injure yourself under load, you're on your own. And being on your own with a mobility-limiting injury in a collapse scenario is a death sentence with extra steps. The ultimate irony of heavy bug-out bags is that the people who pack them are often the least prepared to carry them. They're not ultralight backpackers who've spent years refining their systems and building the fitness to cover distance efficiently. They're office workers, weekend warriors, people whose idea of exercise is walking to the car. Not shaming that. Most people are in that category. But if you're in that category, you absolutely cannot afford to pack heavy. Your body isn't adapted. Your connective tissues aren't strengthened. Your cardiovascular system isn't conditioned. Loading yourself with 60 pounds and expecting to walk 15 miles is like expecting to squat 400 pounds because you read a book about powerlifting. It doesn't work that way. The body adapts to specific stresses over time, and if you haven't been progressively loading your system with ruck training, your bug out is going to be a very short, very painful experience that ends with you sitting on the side of the road, surrounded by abandoned gear, wondering where it all went wrong. There's a phrase in the ultralight backpacking community, hike your own hike. It means everyone's tolerance for discomfort, weight, and minimalism is different. Some people can comfortably carry 30 pounds. Some can manage 15. Some trained individuals can handle 40. The key word is trained and comfortable. If you test your bug-out bag right now, if you load it up and walk 10 miles with it, and you finish that walk thinking, yeah, I could do this for 3 days straight, then maybe your pack weight is appropriate. But if you finish that walk exhausted, sore, reconsidering your life choices, or if you don't finish at all because you had to stop and rest every mile, your pack is too heavy, period. This isn't negotiable. This isn't about toughness or willpower. This is about physics and biology. And neither of those things cares how motivated you are. So here's your homework. Take your bug-out bag, load it completely. Everything you think you need, weigh it. If it's over 25 pounds with consumables, you're already in the danger zone. If it's over 40 pounds, you're carrying a death sentence. Now put it on and walk. Not around the block. Walk 5 miles minimum. 10 would be better. Pay attention to how you feel. Notice where the straps dig in. Notice when your back starts hurting. Notice when you start getting tired. Notice the moment you think, I could not do this for 3 days. That moment is your wake-up call. That moment is reality slapping you across the face and telling you that you're YouTube influenced Tactile, cool, kitchen sink approach to bug out preparation is fundamentally flawed. And here's the thing, realizing your bag is too heavy is actually good news. Because now you can fix it. Now you can start cutting. Now you can start thinking critically about what you actually need versus what you want. Now you can transform from someone with a heavy pack and a lot of stuff into someone with a light pack and a real chance of making it out alive. The minimalist mindset isn't about deprivation, it's about efficiency. It's about understanding that every item you carry must earn its place through utility, weight savings, and multi-use capability. That 3-pound hatchet, gone. Replaced with a full tang knife that weighs 8 ounces and can do 90% of what the hatchet does. That 4-pound tent, gone. Replaced with a tarp that weighs 12 ounces and requires knowledge to deploy effectively, which means you need to learn that skill now. That massive first aid kit with supplies for every conceivable medical emergency? Trimmed down to trauma essentials, bleeding control, and basic wound care, weighing maybe 1 pound. That entertainment gear, books, games, comfort items, all gone. Entertainment in a bug-out scenario is staying alive. Comfort is reaching safety. Everything else is weight that slows you down and increases your injury risk. What about water? Water is life, sure, but it's also 8.3 pounds per gallon. Carrying 3 days of water at 1 gallon per day is 25 pounds just for water. That's your entire gear budget. You cannot carry 3 days of water. You have to find it. You have to purify it. This means planning routes near water sources. This means carrying lightweight purification methods. This means understanding that water procurement is a daily task. Not something you solve by packing more. This is where knowledge becomes weight savings. Understanding water purification, understanding natural water sources, understanding how to identify safe water and make unsafe water safe. That knowledge weighs nothing and saves you 20 pounds. Same with shelter. A heavy tent provides comfort and ease. A lightweight tarp requires skill and knowledge to deploy effectively, but saves 3 pounds. Learning natural shelter construction. Understanding how to use terrain and vegetation for protection. That knowledge weighs nothing and might save you 4 pounds. Learning firecraft beyond just flicking a lighter means you can start fires in wet conditions, in wind with limited materials. That knowledge weighs nothing and increases your survivability dramatically. The pattern is clear. Knowledge is the ultimate lightweight survival tool. It weighs nothing. It can't be lost or broken. It improves with use. It's the one resource you should be stockpiling more than any physical gear. The tactical community resists this because knowledge is harder to acquire than gear. You can buy a 60-pound pack full of tactical gear in an afternoon. You can't buy years of experience. You can't buy muscle memory. You can't buy the judgment that comes from repeatedly testing your skills in real conditions. So people buy gear instead. They buy the illusion of preparedness. They buy the feeling of being ready without actually putting in the work to be ready. And when the collapse comes, when they need to move, that 60-pound pack becomes a millstone around their neck, dragging them down, slowing them to a crawl, injuring them, exhausting them, and ultimately killing them. Not because they weren't prepared. Because they were prepared wrong. Here's the bottom line. Your bug-out bag should be light enough that you can comfortably carry it for 8 to 10 hours per day, covering 15 to 20 miles for 3 consecutive days without injury. If you can't do that with your current pack, your pack is too heavy. Not too heavy for you specifically, just too heavy, period. Because the physics and biology don't change based on your feelings, or your ego, or your belief that you're tougher than average. The science is clear. Heavy loads cause injuries. Heavy loads increase energy expenditure. Heavy loads slow you down. Heavy loads compromise your mobility, which compromises your survivability. In a scenario where survival depends on movement, speed, and adaptability, being burdened with excess gear is a fundamental strategic failure. You've chosen comfort and reassurance over effectiveness. You've chosen the illusion of preparedness over actual capability. And in a real bug-out scenario, that choice will kill you. So strip your pack down. Get brutal about what stays and what goes. Test the stripped-down version. Actually walk with it, not once, multiple times. Build your fitness. Build your knowledge. Learn the skills that let you carry less. And understand that in survival, as in so many things, less is more. The person who moves fast thinks clearly. And Carrie's smart will outlive the tactical bro with the 60-pound ruck every single time. Not because they're tougher, because they understand that survival isn't about having everything. It's about having exactly what you need. The knowledge to use it effectively, and the wisdom to leave everything else behind. Your bug-out bag shouldn't be a mobile fortress. It should be a lightweight tool that facilitates movement and survival for 72 hours. Nothing more, nothing less. Get it right, and you have a real chance. Get it wrong, and physics and biology will make sure you don't make it past the first few days. The choice, as always, is yours. Choose wisely. Choose light. Choose life.